Hi, and welcome to another episode. Obviously, I've got a big box thing here, but basically, what I've done is been a bit silly over the past month or so and bought some more big box bits of software that I'd like to get my hands on. Um, they're not all in exactly the best of nick, but at least I get the manuals and I get to have them to sit on a shelf. And let's be honest, I think this came out in 1991. So, what do you expect for software that came out in 1991 and has been well loved, I suppose? Or well used at the very least. Now, I had the Spectrum version, which this top version is, as a kid, but long since lost it. As I say, the Spectrum version, Sam Coupe, but it's the cassette version, so it's not the plus 3 version. I don't know if there was a plus 3 version on disc. I'm not too sure if there was. But the whole point of this was to build your own virtual reality back when virtual reality was a big buzzword back in the early starts of the 90s or even the late 80s. And the whole point was that you built your own 3D game or simulator type thing, and you moved things around and drew them. So, as in, like someone as a demo sort of thing, they have done a computer on top of an office desk, and every little bit would have had to have been drawn out as like a box and shrunk and shaped, and then resized and stuff, And then they'd put a computer on the top, the same again. But then you could build with the programming language called Freescape. You could build up a logic behind what you wanted to happen. So, as in when you came to a door of a house, you could have a little door handle, and you could press the door handle, as in you're interacting with it, and then the door would open because you've repositioned it. So basically, the way that would happen is that you'd have actually two elements. So you'd have one that was maybe like that, and then the door handle is on there, and then the door opens up, still with the door handle on it, obviously. But then what you would do is that click the door handle, and what would happen is that this one would go invisible, but this one would become visible. But you would get the idea of that the door had opened up. That's basically how it worked for everything on it, and you could use different sounds. And did you have something that you had picked up earlier on and took with you to a new area so that you could use it? So you could have the idea of having something like a key to open the door. You'd have to use the key first, and so on and so forth. Now, the games that were designed by using all of this before 3D Construction Kit came out was in the order. I think it was Driller, Darkside, Total Eclipse, Castle Master 2, The Crypt, I think it was, and then Total Eclipse 2, The Sphinx Jinx, which is a bit of a clever play on words. And then 3D Construction Kit came out, and then 3D Construction Kit 2. Now, Construction Kit 2 never came out on the 8-bits, but it did come out on the 16-bits and on the Archimedes, which is a 32-bit machine. Now, let's have a look inside here. It's all pretty much the same. As you can see, I've got 3 different versions. Spectrum, Amstrad CPC on disc, and a cassette for the Commodore 64. I have no idea if the plus 3 version for the Spectrum was a disc version. I'm assuming there might have been a tape version for the Amstrad, and there might have been a disc version for the Commodore 64, but I haven't come across them, and I've done no research to find out if there was. So if anyone does know, please let me know in the comments. And if you do happen to have the Archimedes version, or know someone who does on eBay or something like that, then please point me towards it, because I would love to get my hands on it. Now, let's have a look inside. So we first open this flap, if we can get it open. And as you can see, as I've already shown you, all the different bits that are in here, you can just about see that's the sort of like pointer that you would use to interact with things. That's the bit that I was wanting to show you. Now, on the 16-bit machines, of course, you had a lot more selection of colours and things. On the Spectrum, it was mostly shading, but you still got the idea of the gameplay, versus the actual, it all being oh so fancy. Well, actually, let's have a look. I've opened up the box again, but let's have a look on the back. This one's a bit beaten up a bit, but as you can see, there's more photos like what was on the front, but it does give you an idea, before you start messing around with the flap on the front. This box contains one excellent reason for you to own a home computer. and to lose many hours trying to figure out how to do something. Because learning the programming languages in the realms of like C or something like that is painfully easy, but there's a lot of commands that you have to remember. So, but once you've remembered them, it's easy enough to do. I remember as a kid I actually wrote out the different commands just so that it was easier to skim across them and go, oh yes, that one, with a slight abbreviation. Sort of a jogger of what was what, because it was easier to do that than it was to keep going through the manual. But after a while you just remember them anyway. So let's have a look inside. Got the manual, as I say, and let's have a look at the manual. You can see all these different commands, and by the looks of it, they're a little bit different depending on which machine you're on. As in, like for the Spectrum, you had ink and paper, and bright if required, and then 128 if flash is required. But the Amstrad and the C64 didn't have those kind of commands to it. It may well be that there was even more commands to those versions. So, there's the idea of variables and objects and stuff. It did actually do quite well at teaching you the concept of actual programming. Though I could already program in Sinclair Basic before I played around with this. Maybe not as great as everyone else could, but I could make stuff happen. I never did get around to learning assembly on the Spectrum. So we have the gold tape, which actually some stuff on there, if I remember correctly, it was easier to learn on what to do from that than it was to read the manual. Speaking of the manual and the cassettes that are hiding over here, is the cassette is the 48K version and the 128K version. Oh yes, let's go back to the manual because some people are interested in how many pages. They're screaming, how many pages? 48 pages. And as you can see, some of the titles of what already had out for the games. For a three-dimensional game, it was more three-dimensional games more than virtual reality, because obviously the way that we think of virtual reality nowadays is that you stick a headset on. The Amstrad version. Now I do have an Amstrad 6128 Plus. Here's the registration card with the form actually sent off. The 48-page manual again, which is in slightly better nick than the other one. The 3-inch floppy. Believe me, it is a floppy. As I say, I do wonder if there's a +3 version. Looks exactly like this, but would be for the Spectrum. Now, my Amstrad computer, I've actually replaced the floppy drive for a Gotek, but if I really wanted to, I could put the drive back in again and see if that disc works. And again, you can just about see the gold version of the tape, which is sort of a lust for some people for it, because the later versions, the very later versions, you didn't get this big fancy black box. You got a blue thing, more of a budget release, but also the VHS tapes started to become started to become black instead of gold, even though the original versions were. And then we're on to the C64 version, which, as you may have guessed by now, is pretty much exactly the same. But we've got the designer sort of tape, the compiler, so you can make it into a standalone game, and then an introductory audio tape, which I've never listened to because I don't believe it came out for the Spectrum version. I don't remember it at all. Let's have a quick look in the manual to see if it does mention it, for maybe like the Spectrum. Because sometimes they do mention that what's inside the box. No, doesn't seem to be anything that mentions it. It just goes into learning how. So that'll be interesting for me to do, is to get that into a cassette player and listen to that. Oh, and there's the registration card that hasn't actually been sent off, and then an amendum, and then another gold disc. And as you can see, the design of the box was a bit poor because the weight of the cassette would smash up against there. And also one thing that seems to be a bit of a design flaw on these boxes is it would tear. So this one's torn at the top right, this one at the bottom left, and the Spectrum one also at the bottom left, because it was the sort of thing which was very common. The big box ones, it was like, come on, open up, and people would get bored and just yank it, and of course that means it wrecks the cardboard. But that is 3D Construction Kit. If anyone would like to see some stuff done with it, please let me know, and then I'll load it up on the particular computer that you want to see it happening on, and I'll see if I can make a little demonstration of, like, you know, well, as I say before, like a simple thing of like opening a door up or something like that. Let's move on to the other big boxes. And here's my Lemmings again. People are probably like, oh, why more Lemmings? Because I'm silly. This is the Atari ST. Only 512k is required. And as you can see, this is Lemmings, but it's a special limited edition double pack. Twice the value, twice the fun. Because it's got Oh No More Lemmings. See, look, if you don't believe me, look, see, Oh No More Lemmings. And I bought this version of it because, as the followers of this channel will know, I've already got Lemmings for the Amiga and for the PC in the big box forms. And I didn't want to go through the whole thing of having Lemmings by itself again. It was kind of nice, the idea of getting this special limited edition version. So that's what I've done. Let's have a look. I like how it says colour version, as if there's a black and white version. I mean, come on, time you get to the ST, unless there is. I wonder if there is actually with the ST. Is there a high res version of Lemmings which only works in black and white? Maybe they had plans for doing that. It'd be nice to know, because it does seem a bit obscure to put its colour. Right, so let's have a look on the side of the box. Nothing too special in there. And then obviously examples of the game on the back. Nothing across the top, well, apart from, you know, stuff. Oh, there we go. A price label. £27.99. That's a whole lot of money. Let's have a look inside. Oh, receipt. And it came from Computer World in Canterbury for £27.99. Hey, the person who bought this, they also got Addams Family for free. Where's my free copy of Addams Family? You know, pass it on. Proof. This receipt is proof of purchase. February sales. And February sales, not January sales, February sales. There must have been a 2-for-1 deal going on. Must have been. But you see, it's 10 minutes to 5 on a 5th of February 1994. I wonder if that was a Saturday. But actually, it's in the afternoon, so I bet what it was someone after work or after school going, well, I'm going to buy that, it's 2-for-1. But anyway, we've got Lemmings, and we've got Oh No More Lemmings. Well, you can see they've cheaped out a little bit and used a label instead of printing directly on the disc. These things happen, and it's absolutely no problem at all. And then let's have a look at the Lemmings manual, which, as the followers of the channel will know, I've already got many copies of this manual. There's no manual for the Oh No More because, let's be honest, you don't really need to have a manual for that because it plays exactly the same. It's just more levels, really. And there's 35 pages of different languages telling you how to play. So that's that one. I thought that might be a bit of an interesting one to pick up. So I best get it playing. And actually, I think I have very few big box stuff for the ST. I have a lot more big box stuff for the Amiga. So I wanted to get some stuff for the ST. Now we've moved on to Lemmings 2 for the Atari ST. But this time you need 1 megabyte. And as, again, followers of the channel will know that I have Lemmings 2, The Tribes. This is the ST version. There's on the back. It's all exactly the same stuff of what's on the Amiga and the PC versions. But this time, though, there seems to be everything that should have been inside at the time. So important notice, micropros have moved. So don't forget, they've moved. Warranty registration. However, this person was couldn't be bothered to do that. which is perfectly fine, because after all, if the game works, the game works. There's nothing else to be saying, really, is there? You know, if your floppy disks work. Questionnaires, I've seen one of those before. This time, there's no big book like there is on the Amiga version. I don't know if it's supposed to, but the Amiga version had a big book, as far as I remember. So anyway, sort of a leaflet type manual. There's the front of it, the manual. So yeah, it's actually that way around. The floppy disk, which is actually still inside a plastic bag. Remember them being very common. What else have we got? A little leaflet to try to get you to buy yet more of their games. Let's have a look. Got a new catalogue, back catalogue. You can buy t-shirts and baseball caps and get mugs. Hey, that'd be kind of cool. A Lemmings mug. I wonder where you can get one of them. So we've got Lemmings 2 Tribes, Creepers, Walker, and Combat Air Patrol. Hey, maybe I should get Combat Air Control going to Combat Air Patrol, not Control, Patrol. Get that going to compare it to the Microsoft Flight Simulator of 2020. And then your order form. Now, if you wanted a t-shirt, that was $6.99. If you wanted a mug, that was $4.99. And then pins, or badges, what you want to call them, they were $1.99 each. And t-shirts were $6.99 and baseball caps were $4.99. And then post and package would have been £2. No matter what you ordered, by the looks of it. So you could have ordered all of that and it still only cost you £2. But then you'd have to put out your check number and if you were paying in how much it was going to come to in the particular type of money we're going to use. So pounds, Deutschmarks and francs. There we go. So yeah, that'd be interesting to get hold of a t-shirt or a mug of those. And then what have we got here? Another registration, warranty card. There we go. Warranty registration form. So there we go. I wanted to take it. Oh, they moved yet again. Yeah, that's the thing. So, did they bother? There's an interesting question. They stick a card in to tell you that they've moved, but do they bother to update their warranty cards? Free post win. Oh no, it's a free post one, so it doesn't matter. The post office has to sort that out anyway. Right. So that is the end of the Lemmings, and you may have seen something underneath if you've been keeping an eye. Yes, there it is. Now I have this for the Amiga, which I'm sure the followers of the channel will know, but this is sort of semi-unopened, new old stock sort of thing for the Atari ST. So do I or do I not open this? Because after all these years, from 1990, so 30 years, it's not been opened properly. I mean, you can tell it's never actually been taken out of the box. You can hear discs rattling around inside. You can hear the rustle. Oh, what do I do? What do I do? Okay, so I'm going to ask my patrons on what I should do about opening this up. I have a few at the moment. It would be great to have more. What I'll do though is ask them and give them 30 minutes to reply and see what they say. Okay, you can blame Andy from my patrons because basically he's the only one who replied in those 30 minutes. It's perfectly fine. People are sleeping, it's other side of the world or at their work or whatever they're doing. But he said open it, so I've opened it. And as you can see, the audio had messed up and I've had to redub because it's messed up like it sometimes does. And I came to the conclusion that this was in fact waterlogged. And then looking over my purchase, I was warned it may be water damaged. But I've got a nasty habit of just looking at pictures and going, yeah, okay, and click, instead of actually double checking what's actually said in the description. So I've got my little craft knife and I shall open it up bit by bit. I'll jump ahead of where I've had to mess around a fair bit to actually get inside, because it has sort of stuck itself together in places just through water damage. I obviously know what's inside there, but we'll have a look inside. And I will say though, this thing, once opened, absolutely stinks of must. It's sort of like when you've cut the grass with your mower on a slightly damp day and then cleaned it off, but then stuck it in the shed, and when you go to get it next time, it just smells musty. It's that kind of smell. These things happen, it's my own fault. And what we'll do is have a quick look of like the more important parts of what's inside. As you can see at the moment, I still am struggling trying to get inside, but I will show you what's inside and then round things up. Okay, you can see I finally get into the box, and we've got a few discs, we've got a manual, and I'm going to look forward to figuring out how to use this. Some of you might remember I've already got this on the Amiga, but I wanted to play around with this on the ST at some point. That's why I bought it, because I don't actually have a licensed copy of something that does audio on the ST in a MIDI format, and yet, of course, that's really what the ST was built for, was for MIDI. And for the followers of the channel, you'll know I've got a fair few MIDI devices to play around with. You can see there's a little bit of water damage and splodges in places. Some of the discs are feel a bit weird, and actually pulling back the metal guard and having a look at the disc, I know the camera's not picking it up, but I can actually see there's a little bit of patina on it, we'll put it that way. Basically there's no way I'm going to put these discs inside a drive. I wouldn't want to ruin the head. I'd have to definitely clean the head off again. So as always, happy gaming.